Well, good morning and welcome. Thanks for joining us today. It's Keith Ayers from Integro. You probably know that. And with me is Candice Schultz, who is our training coordinator and is helping out on the technical side of things. And one of those is to launch a poll. So Candy's going to set up a poll now. If you could just click on your DiSC style so we can just do a little bit of a survey of what the different styles are of the people that we have on the session today. As you can see, there's 11 people registered come on so far, but we've actually got quite a few more expected. So how are we going so far? 2 people DIID, 2 ISSI. We've got 7 out of 11 have responded. Can we have a few more? Excuse me. A bit of a mixed bag there. Okay, Candy, would you like to just share the results of those who completed? So the ISSI style predominates with 3 out of the 11. Was it 3 or probably 9, I think, that we got. So a bit of a mixture. So thanks for sharing that. Helps us to see what the mix is of what we've got in the group. So we can close that now. Okay, and before I get into the slides that I'm going to take you through, and I'm going to also stop my video so that you're not distracted by me talking in the corner of the window there. I want to start off by just clarifying what Catalyst is. It's about 18 months or so ago that Alicia and I were at a conference in Europe for our international Wiley partners, and they launched the term Everything DiSC, the Culture Catalyst, and started positioning the Everything DiSC suite of tools as a catalyst for creating culture change. Now, the culmination of that was the launching of the Catalyst platform, sort of around about the middle of last year, if I remember correctly. And Catalyst is a new platform. It's a new platform for viewing profiles and comparisons and all of that kind of stuff. So those of you familiar with myeverythingdisc.com, if you wanted to use that tool after taking a DiSC profile, you would go into a separate platform to do that. In Catalyst, it's all in the one place. And so including more than one profile. So at the moment, we have the Workplace on Catalyst profile, and we have Agile EQ on Catalyst, and sometime this year, we're expecting to see Productive Conflict on Catalyst. Don't have a date on that yet. And so, but Everything DiSC, Workplace on Catalyst, and Agile EQ on Catalyst are in the same place. And we'll see that when I take you into my Catalyst profile to show you how that works. So the Epic platform, for those of you familiar with that platform, which is where you go to enter people's names and email addresses to send out links for them to take a profile, that hasn't changed. The only difference is that one of the profiles in the list now is Workplace on Catalyst, and another one is Agile EQ on Catalyst. But Workplace profile is still there, and Agile EQ profile is still there, which would be then delivered and responded to in the normal way. Okay, so there's a difference. I want to talk about culture and why is Everything DiSC the culture catalyst, and why a catalyst platform. So first of all, there's been some changes in our world, and particularly in the last 12 months. There's been significant changes taking place for quite a while now. So organizational culture has had or been impacted, likely permanently, by changes as a result of COVID. It's undeniable that culture matters, and everyone's talking about it. And organizations need to take action to deliberately shape the culture that they want to have to be the best they can be. Okay, and so culture doesn't transform by itself. It needs a catalyst. And so the catalyst platform is Wiley's brand new innovation to use everything DiSC as that catalyst for culture change. So it's a tool for creating meaningful culture change that empowers people to engage, connect, and thrive with each other at work. Okay, so we have a choice. We can actively shape the culture we want, or we can just let it happen. All right. Now, one of the reasons that everything DiSC can be such a powerful tool for shaping culture, I'm going to go back to an old model that I know it's been around a while, and you've probably seen it, if not used it, the judging to valuing ladder. All right, that when people get together or work together or live together, oftentimes we start off by judging differences. We grew up with judging. I'm sure you can remember times as a kid where you were judged by sometimes well-meaning parents, certainly by teachers, certainly by other kids, certainly by siblings. All right, people judging us because of what we did or aspects of our personality, maybe even. All right, and to get away from that, we need to start off by understanding behavior and understanding differences. All right, that's only the first step. The next step is we need to respect the differences, and there's no better than. We're all equal. All right, and so we need to respect those differences, but we need to go beyond that too. It's to appreciating the differences. I really appreciate that you're different from me because you bring something to the team that I don't have. And then obviously the ultimate goal would be to value those differences and really capitalize on those differences and really work together. And so that's what everything DiSC is designed to do. I think we've been really good at helping people with the understanding and respecting the differences and maybe appreciating the differences. And I don't know that we've talked enough about actually valuing those differences and valuing that opposite style who's so different from me. Okay, so imagine a workplace where everyone in the workplace understands everyone else that they work with. They respect them, they appreciate them, and they really value the differences, and they can see the differences in their own platform on the comparisons and so on. Okay, so let's dive into a little bit more about everything DiSC on Catalyst. So the initial plan was to put 3 of the profiles on Catalyst, the first one being workplace. Then later last year, we got Agile EQ on Catalyst. We'll be able to see those live in action on my profile when I share it with you in a moment. And then we have the productive conflict profile, as I mentioned. They're currently working on that. There are plans to add the management profile after that. And again, no idea of timing on that. And then the others, there's no commitment for times or anything as to when that's going to happen. But so there is a commitment to the 4 profiles. There's the other thing that's interesting here is that when you upgrade to Catalyst, you upgrade your profile, whether it be workplace or management or sales or whatever, using existing data, and it doesn't cost you anything to create a workplace on Catalyst using existing data from another Everything DiSC profile. But you will answer some additional questions, which are the priority questions for the other profiles. And so you don't need to take another assessment later on when you want to add Agile EQ or productive conflict, etc. And discounted pricing means that when you take an Agile EQ profile on Catalyst after you've done the workplace profile, you pay a much lower price for the Agile EQ profile than if you did it separately through your Epic account. Okay, we'll talk about that a bit more later. Okay, so this is the home page or home screen. When you click on your link to go to Catalyst, you have 2 choices. You can finish your assessment, meaning finish the extra questions, or do the whole assessment if you're starting from scratch. But you can also go to Discology, which is, some people may want to learn more about this before they complete their assessment. And we'll see what Discology is in just a moment. Okay. So when they're responding on Catalyst, that's been changed significantly as well. And So here you see one of the questions that people respond to, and they respond from strongly disagree to strongly agree on the 5-point like-it scale. Okay, just one question coming up at a time in bigger print, much easier to read and to just focus on the one question at a time than what we've been used to from EPIC. Okay, so let's explore the Catalyst platform, and I need to stop sharing that and go to my browser. Okay, and I need to minimize that, and I need to share my screen again. It worked. Okay, so here's my Catalyst profile. Hi Keith, you have an SI style, and you can see in the little graph to the right there, or disk map, a little dot with my picture in it. So if you've connected your picture to the Catalyst platform, and you can, I think you can share your LinkedIn photo to make that happen, or you can add it to your Catalyst platform. And this is what the person's going to see when they complete their profile. All right, we'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. But so we can see that the first thing it says is learn more about the DiSC model. And if I click on that, it just brings up some basic overview. And let's hope that I don't want to do that at the moment. So there's a little introductory video. Watch this video to learn more about DiSC, the 2 dimensions of DiSC, the 4 styles, etc. And then I can go into the discology side of things and look at the 12 different styles, DiSC research, DiSC theory, etc. Or if I had gone into discology from the home page, go back home here. And I think if I click on here, yeah, so I can go to discology over here. Right, so this is the main menu. If I wanted to print out a report, I can download the report there. And because I've got both Agile EQ and Workplace on here, I could download those 2 reports separately as paper profiles, or I could combine them into one larger report. Okay, so let me go back to my DiSC style, back to my home page. And I'd like, if you have a Workplace profile handy, it would be useful for you to have that, and you can see how these bits tie in, because everything that's in your Workplace profile is in your Catalyst platform. Looks like we've got a little bit of slowness on our internet this morning, which is very unusual. Okay, all right, so now I'm going to go down to Workplace. All right, and this is the Workplace profile on Catalyst, what drives you. And here we have my Workplace priorities. All right, so this is on page 5 in your Workplace profile. You'll see what your Workplace priorities are. Mine are valuing collaboration, giving support, generating enthusiasm, and then I have an extra priority on taking action, as you can see with the stripe shading at the top there. Okay. It also has my motivators and stressors from page 6 in the Workplace profile. And then on page 16 in the original Workplace profile, you'll see 3 strategies for increasing effectiveness. All right, so here are the 3 strategies as well. So as I said, everything we've got in the Workplace profile, we can see on here. All right, if I go back to Workplace, there's something I've missed the learn about your style. That's what I'm missing. I didn't click on the most obvious thing there. All right, so here is the introduction, page 2 in the workplace profile. Page 3, your DiSC map and where your dot falls, and whether you fall to the edge or towards the center and your inclination. And then your dot tells a story, page 4 in the workplace profile. So all of that information is here as well, okay? And cornerstone principles, they've actually reduced them to 2 cornerstone principles instead of 5, okay? The 2 most important ones being all DiSC styles and priorities are equally valuable, and everyone's a blend of all 4. And your style is also influenced by other factors. So there's more to you than DiSC, okay, which we obviously know. And now I can go back to the workplace section. And in the back of the workplace profile, you have a section which looks at you and other styles, all right, which is pages 8 to 12. Starts off with you and the D style. And to you, people with the D style may seem, and in my case, I've got words like forceful, blunt, demanding, dominant, because I'm looking at them from an SI style area, what motivates them, what their priorities are. And then we've got something that's really unique to Catalyst. Right, here we have 4 short videos. You can see that they're all less than a minute in length. And they're people with the D style responding to a question, how D styles handle disagreements with teammates, etc. Okay, so a lot of exploring to do here. And someone could spend quite a lot of time in here, okay? And then people you may know in the D region, anyone in your team or your organization or your group that you've identified for the Catalyst platform, in our case, everyone in Integro, who has a primary D style. And I could click on that if I wanted to explore Alicia's comparisons with me, but I'm going to show you that in another section here. And we can also dive deeper. How do we build better relationships with the D style, which is a separate section I'll come to in a moment. So then we've got the I style, same thing, little videos, people with the I style. If I go down further, you'll see when we get to people with the S style, we've got actually 3 pages of people with the S style in Integro. Okay, so a lot of S style people in our team. So so that's, if we go back to workplace here, we'll see build better relationships, which is the digging deeper piece. All right, now this is pages 12 to 15. So it was 8 to 11 was understanding other styles. 12 to 15 is how do I adapt to relate to different styles? And this is information that's already in the workplace profile, but now it's dynamic online here. And again, it brings in people you know in each of the 3 styles. So the 3 choices of connecting with someone when problems need to be solved and when things get tense, okay? So we can see the whole profile here, and back to workplace. The part that's most impactful in terms of shaping culture is your colleagues, right? I'm going to scroll down here to your colleagues and then click on this section here. And when you take a Catalyst profile or upgrade to a Catalyst profile, you have to put in the name of an organization, right? And anyone who has exactly the same organization name in that field will appear in your profile here. So you can see this is Integro. You will probably know and speak to Kelly on a regular basis. And so there's actually 12 of us because we've included Michelle and Kathy who deliver everything DiSC certification training for us in our team here. And as you can see, there's a lot of little blue flags for the style here. Now, if I want to do a comparison, I'm going to choose Sam because Sam is a C style, right? And when I click on Sam's tile, it brings up some basic overview of Sam and what she cares about. Pull her in to a meeting or a discussion when ideas need a common sense check, when inefficient systems need troubleshooting, or a job calls for precision. Okay, So really identifying some strengths that Sam brings to the team, and that she may be stressed by these kind of situations. So I want to avoid creating that kind of situation. When we look at our maps, we can see that we're a fair way apart, almost opposite, and what Sam prioritizes compared to what I prioritize. And then we look at the similarities and differences. So the similarities, there are three. We're both gentle and understanding of people's mistakes and are tactful. But differences, quite a few on each side. And then the differences become more alive when we look at the actual continua. All right, so if we look at private outgoing, okay, you can see Sam's right up the private end of the scale and I'm right up the outgoing end of the scale. And if we want to explore that a little bit more and say, what's the significance of that? We just click on details and it comes up and says, my tendencies are to seek out social situations to meet new people. Sam tends to avoid that, okay? So if we're going to go to a networking function of some sort, and I want to take Sam along as a business development manager, I need to take that into consideration. It's not that Sam shouldn't go, but we need to be clear about expectations and so on. Okay, so there are 8 of these continua, right? And in terms of how does this help with culture? Well, if I'm going to understand and appreciate different styles, this information is very valuable. All right, and then obviously from there to valuing differences. So if I'm going to go into a meeting with Sam, it wouldn't hurt for me to dive into here and just have a quick look at the things that I think might be most important, like structured, unstructured. You can see where I sit on that. I'm right at the right hand end of the scale. And of course, there's some information that's going to come up with that's going to help me to understand what Sam's expectations might be when we go into this meeting to discuss something. Okay. Right. We can then go a bit further, and those of you familiar with my everythingdisc.com, in addition to the continua, we talked about benefits and roadblocks. Well, here we've got the same kind of application. If I want to connect with Sam, I'd click on connecting, and it's going to take information from the continua above. Benefits, my social nature may give you and Sam some more opportunity to get to know each other. Roadblocks, my desire to work as a team might make Samantha uncomfortable. So, and then tips, how do I work more effectively with Sam? And so from here, I can even go back to the things we looked at, understanding the C style, building better relationships with the C style, or dive into the DiSC model to get a better understanding. Okay, so we have that information for everyone on the team. Okay, and again, the way we get this information in our profile is by making sure that we have the same company names spelt the same way for each person on the team. Okay, if you've got a larger group and you don't want to have 100 people showing up in here, you can edit the company name or organization name by saying, for example, Integra Learning Company - sales, right? So we just get the sales team. We're not a big enough team, obviously, to be able to do that. Okay. So that's the your colleagues section. All right. And the other thing that's in the workplace profile that we haven't seen yet is the last 4 pages, which are the 12 styles. All right. And again, all of that information is here in the discology section. All right, so we can look through the DiSC style, and there's the narrative report that we see in the back of the workplace profile, and the bullet points. All right, goals, judges others by, etc. And it goes through all 12 of the styles, and you can see the graphic moves around to the different slice of the pie as you go around. Or you can just click on one. If I want to go to the SC, I think. No, it doesn't do that. I've got to do it over here. That's right, the SC style. Okay, and it'll jump down to the SC style if I wanted to read up about that one. Okay, so back to home. All right, so so that's the workplace profile, and I just want to give you a quick little look at the Agile EQ profile. Those of you who are familiar with the Agile EQ profile, there are 3 sections in the profile, and there are 3 sections in the facilitation, 3 modules in the facilitation on the Agile EQ facilitator kit. And the first section looks at your strengths. The second section looks at stretching beyond your comfort zone. And then the third section looks, how do I develop my EQ? But first of all, what is EQ in the context of the profile? And again, there's a little video that explains that. And just a key point here about this profile. The first point there says your EQ isn't a fixed score or measurement. With some time and practice, anyone can enhance their EQ. All right. And there are different ways to be emotionally intelligent. So this profile does not measure whether you are high or low on emotional intelligence. It measures how your DiSC style influences your mindset and therefore your emotional intelligence strengths. Okay. And so here is the basic model. All right. So for each of the 8 scales, there is a mindset. All right. And then if we want more information about each mindset, we can go down and have a bit of a read about that. Okay. And so as an SI style, my number 1 mindset is empathizing. What that means is when I go into a situation, the thing that's really important on my mind is tuning into where other people are coming from, tuning into their feelings, and understanding where they're seeking to understand where they're coming from. Now, obviously, there's times when that's not going to be very effective for me. And so if that's not going to be effective for me, I need to switch to a different mindset. And as you can appreciate, the mindsets that I find more challenging are self-assured and resolute. Okay, and to some extent also objective. Putting emotions aside and dealing with the facts doesn't come easily to me either. I think I've learned to do those things over the years, but I can certainly learn to do it better by learning from this profile and the facilitation around this profile. Okay, and when I've introduced this to groups of people, I've asked the D styles, who typically come across as being self-assured, right? They've got to approach things with a self-assured mindset, very confident, take charge. And I'll say to them, have you ever been told that you need to listen more? And they just look at each other and grin. Yeah, just a few times. Okay. Well, that's the receptive mindset, isn't it? All right. So the challenge for the D style is to put that self-assured mindset aside and switch to using a receptive mindset when it's appropriate to do that. All right. Vice versa, if you ask an S style, have you ever felt that you needed to be more self-assured, more direct, more standing up for your opinions? And of course, they nod their heads and say, yeah, sure. Okay. So for an S style to move to being more self-assured requires a change in mindset. Okay. And that's what this profile is all about. Okay. So let's just quickly look through the 3 sections there without going into a lot of detail. But so your EQ strengths, and because I'm an SI style, the 3 strengths I have are you're empathizing, you're receptive, and you're outgoing. All right. Probably more the first 2 than the last one. I know I'm not a jump up and down kind of person. I can be, but it takes a bit of effort for me. But it's fun when I stretch myself to do that. Okay, so everybody has 3 strengths, and the profile identifies those, and that's where it starts. All right. The other thing that's interesting here is, you know, we've been, ever since I've been doing DiSC, since 1985, I've been emphasizing that DiSC is a needs-driven behavioral model. Anyone who's been to any Integro session would be familiar with the whole person concept or iceberg model. Okay, and the needs are at the bottom of the iceberg and the behavior is the tip of the iceberg. Okay, and behavior is a reflection of our needs. Certainly DiSC-based behavior is a reflection of our needs. All right, this is the first profile where Wiley have actually come out and spelt it out, what the needs are. So my need for empathizing, sorry, my empathizing mindset is driven by needs. Right, to connect with others, to be helpful and supportive, harmonious environment, and to be accepted. Okay, that's why I tend to use that mindset. And that becomes really important when we get into the second phase of Agile EQ, which is getting beyond my comfort zone. Right. The mindsets that are going to be most difficult for me are the 5 that don't fall into the 3 that I'm strong in. Okay. And if we, I'm going to scroll down to the resolute mindset. You'll see there's little videos here. I'm going to explain that in just a second, but let's look at the resolute mindset. Okay. Which is directly opposite me. Okay. And resolute mindset is standing your ground in the face of opposition, speaking up about problems and pushing through any resistance. Okay. Why do I need to do that? I might need to do it when, right? You might need to be resolute when I'm defending my ideas, etc. And you'll see here an effort meter, right? Now, green would mean no effort. I can do it comfortably. Okay. But I'm in the pink. I'm not right around in the red, but in the pink means that it takes a fair bit of effort for me to do this. Right, which makes sense. Now, if I want to learn a little bit more about this resolute mindset, I can click on this little video here and watch someone who is resolute talk about what is going on in her mind when she's being resolute, okay, to help me better understand that, okay. So I'm just going to click down here to the dynamic mindset, which is also one of my ones that is a stretch, okay. But you'll see I'm in the green there. And if you recall, I had an additional priority on the DI scale. And so I've spent more time in there. And so I've developed that ability to be more dynamic in my mindset. And the profile actually measures that. So your comfort zone, where your needle points in this comfort zone area here, is based on the additional questions you answer about these mindsets when you're completing the DiSC profile. So not everyone with the same dot is going to have the same comfort meters, of course, because we've got different levels of ability to adapt in this profile. Okay. And then finally, of course, how do we increase our EQ? And that's develop your EQ. The last section here is looking at those 5 mindsets again, choosing one that I would like to develop. Let me go back down to the resolute mindset here. I need to work on that. Okay. So we've got some additional information here. Choose something you might want to try. And then we've got another little comfort meter here that says that understanding the consequences of giving in too easily. I've sort of got to understand that. So I'm not going to find much difficulty with that or discovering the value of a little stubbornness. But when it comes to standing behind my opinions, even if they're unpopular, that's going to be a stretch for me, right? Or challenging, undermining thoughts might be more challenging for me as well. So from that, I can start working on an action plan as to what I can do. And I can actually click on those, okay? And so here are some things that I can do to get better at standing behind my opinions, okay? And develop my action plan for improving my EQ. Improving my EQ means improving my ability to adapt, to use the full range of mindsets that are available to me, rather than being limited to the ones that satisfy my needs. And of course, coming back to the need satisfaction, if I'm going to adapt to use a different mindset, underlying that, there may be a fear that if I do this, my needs won't get met. If I use this resolute or self-assured mindset to stand up for myself, my need for acceptance might be threatened. And so the more conscious I am of that, the more I can put that need aside and say, no, I need to stand up for myself here. I need to push through that fear and be more effective. Okay, it's a really powerful profile and it's a great tool for people, especially in this current climate. People are dealing with a whole lot of situations they've never had to deal with before. And the need to use different mindsets is becoming more and more important. Okay, so I need to have Candy guide me through getting back to my PowerPoint file. So where do I start? Stop share. Okay, done. Minimize that. Okay, back down here. then screen share, back to there, and then, oh, I've got to share it first, haven't I? Share, then back up here, presentation mode. Hey, there we go. All right, it worked. Okay, so we're back to just a few really important things to understand Catalyst and how we've got to here from there. The biggest differences in someone in using Catalyst as a facilitator or as someone taking it is, number one, that as soon as you've completed your profile, you can see your results. Now, and I've been guilty of telling people for 30 years now that don't let people see the profile until you're delivering it to them in the classroom. Well, we're not in the classroom anymore. Well, we hopefully will be back in the classroom more. And that works fine when you're producing a PDF file to give to someone. But if you're running a virtual session and everybody's done Catalyst and you want them sitting in front of their screens with their Catalyst profiles and doing all these great activities you can do in Catalyst and putting people in breakout rooms to have conversations about the differences and similarities, they've got to be able to see their profile before you take them into that virtual session. Imagine starting a virtual session with a group of people and they haven't seen Catalyst yet. And at the beginning you say, I'm going to send you a link now and you'll be able to go in and see your Catalyst profile. What's going to happen? You've lost them because there's so much to explore in the Catalyst profile that they're just going to be exploring everything. And you're trying to run a session. It's not going to work. So they do have to have access to their profile before you can run those virtual sessions. And you can do a lot of great stuff in the facilitation materials we'll talk about in just a moment. And so it's really important that people have the viewing rights. And it's automatic. We can't adjust that. So Catalyst is designed for virtual delivery, although we can do classroom with it as well. And people need to have a read of their profile and understand what's in there before we do that virtual session, okay? The second thing is, as soon as someone completes a profile and they can see their own profile, they can also see other people in their workplace who have already got their workplace profile on Catalyst there, just like I showed you with our team, all right? And you'll notice that they can't see their profile. What they can see is what their strengths are, and what the differences and similarities are, and where you and they sit on the continua. And coming back to our appreciating and valuing differences, how can we appreciate and value people if we don't understand that stuff? All right. So the whole idea of using this as a culture change tool is to help people understand themselves and each other and how we can work together better, and to actively use that to give people activities to do to use Catalyst to interact with each other. Okay. And so as I showed you before, there's the way we do that is through the Your Colleagues section. Okay. If you do print out the profile, you'll find that there are different profiles. It's called Your DiSC profile, not Your Workplace profile. So there are additional pages like building better relationships. And all of that ties into the activities in the new facilitation materials for virtual delivery and also with what's on Catalyst. Okay. I took you through the mindsets. This is a page from the Agile EQ profile, which combines the name of the mindset and a few details about it. And then this is the page from the Agile EQ profile where you can see what the 4 needs are that drive your strengths. Okay, and I showed you that in the Catalyst platform as well. So Catalyst modules, there are 5 workplace modules or DiSC workplace, your basic DiSC style and your colleagues are what we call DiSC fundamentals. And then what drives you and other styles, build better relationships, the 3 additional modules. So there's 5 facilitation modules ranging from 30 to 40 minutes through to 70 to 80 minutes. And again, it's something that you can do over time. Okay, there are 3 Agile EQ modules, and they're the 3 sections I talked about when we were in the Agile EQ. And there are 3 coming sometime this year with productive conflict. And again, these are the same 3 sections that are in the productive conflict profile. and in the facilitation, in the productive conflict facilitation kit. There's a new facilitation kit, and just announced last week, the free upgrade from a Everything DiSC profile to Workplace on Catalyst, or from a Workplace or Agile EQ facilitation kit to the new Everything DiSC on Catalyst facilitator kit, has now been extended from the 30th of April to the 31st of December. Okay, so we've got plenty of time to get familiar with it. And so if you have either a Workplace kit or an Agile EQ kit, you can upgrade for free. Okay, if you don't have a kit, it's $1,600, which is the price of one kit to get this facilitation kit, which has both Workplace and Agile EQ in it. Okay, it includes both virtual and in-person modules. Right, so there's two sections in the kit, and you can go to the classroom version, or you can go to the virtual version. So 5 Workplace modules, 3 Agile EQ modules. There's a new introduction to DiSC video, and there's new in-person classroom material as well. Okay, so other topics I want to cover that you may be familiar with: comparison reports. As you saw in the platform, the comparisons are all there. It's not the same as a comparison report, but there are 8 continua. We can click on the drop down and we can see the detail behind that. But you can also, if you wanted to produce a PDF file comparison report between 2 people, you can use the Workplace on Catalyst profile to generate that comparison report, but you would do it through the Epic platform. All right. The supplement for facilitators, it's not built into Catalyst, but you can generate a supplement for facilitators profile from their Workplace on Catalyst or Agile EQ on Catalyst. No, actually, there's not one for Agile EQ. All right, myeverythingdisc.com is not going away. There are other profiles that are not planned to migrate to Catalyst in the short term. So myeverythingdisc.com needs to stay around for them, like the Work of Leaders profile, the sales profile, etc. Okay. Group maps. There are no group maps in Catalyst. You can put together teams within Catalyst where you can see just a team of people within a larger group, but that's something that the facilitator internally needs to do. If you want help on that, just contact Candy or Kelly. Okay. You can generate group culture reports and facilitator reports in Epic from Catalyst as well. Okay. Catalyst has really taken off. This is the daily consumption of Catalyst profiles, looking at the last 6 months up till the end of last year. And you can see at the beginning of the 6 months, there was hardly any. And each of those bars represents a day. So it seems like Mondays are big days in a lot of those months, but Saturday, Sunday, not so big. Okay, but the trend is growing, and it's I'm sure it's extending even beyond that now because we don't have the January, February data. Okay, so how do we transform culture with Catalyst? We want to get away from a once and done approach to DiSC. People saying, well, I've done DiSC. Well, what does that mean? And when I ask people that question, I ask them, how are you using it? When they say, what do you mean using it? Well, if you've done DiSC and you're not using it, you haven't really done DiSC. You haven't learned how to use it to make a difference in your relationships and in your workplace. Okay, and so the way to do that is the way Wiley have designed this facilitation. So there are 5 workshops. So we've got DiSC fundamentals. I've combined modules 1 and 2 under DiSC fundamentals, which is your DiSC profile and your colleagues, as an initial workshop. So they do the assessment, they read their profile, they come to the workshop, and then you give them activities to do back in the Catalyst platform over a 2 or 3 week or a month timeframe. And then we bring them back into another virtual workshop. What drives you? It's about 60 minutes. Okay, and then give them some activities to do so they're back in the Catalyst platform, connecting with each other, etc. And then you and other styles, another workshop, and then back in the platform with activities to do, and then back to another workshop, and then more Catalyst platform activities. And having really consolidated our knowledge of DiSC and Workplace and and how we can use that to improve relationships, we can then go to another level with Agile EQ. And again, we can do the same kind of thing here. Okay, or we could just start with Agile EQ if you just wanted to start there. We'd still do the DiSC fundamentals from the workplace section, but then I would go straight on into your EQ strengths, beyond your comfort zone, and developing your EQ. Developing your ED, that doesn't look right. But again, after each module, it makes sense to give people some stuff to do. And then when we get productive conflict, of course, we can do the same kind of thing. We can extend it even further, developing their knowledge of themselves and others and how they can apply these tools to building a very healthy culture. So pricing clarification, workplace on Catalyst is 15 credits. Workplace in Epic is 15 credits. Nothing's changed, same price. If you've already done an everything DiSC profile, all right, regardless of what it is, sales, management, work of leaders, you've completed a DiSC assessment, you can upgrade that to Workplace on Catalyst for free until the 31st of December. Again, that's been extended to the end of the year. All right. Agile EQ on Catalyst as an add-on experience. In other words, if you've done the basic Workplace on Catalyst and you want to do Agile EQ, that will cost 10 credits. All right. The Agile EQ profile on its own through Epic is 25 credits. So that's a significant reduction. And the whole idea is here, let's build an ongoing process of learning with DiSC, okay? And so that people continue to use it to improve relationships, all right? If someone has already taken an Agile EQ profile as well as a workplace profile, they get a free upgrade to their workplace profile, and then they can get a free upgrade for Agile EQ as well. All right. So those of you that deal with your own clients may be interested in, there's a customizable brochure that you can get access to share with clients to give them information about Catalyst. Okay, so this is our new reality. All right. I should mention that the classroom facilitation in the facilitator kit, the new facilitator kit, everything DiSC on Catalyst, has all the videos that you have in the original facilitator kits and the same sort of modules and everything else. It's not exactly the same as the original facilitator kit, but it allows you to do all of the classroom facilitation that you would normally do. The difference would be to really capitalize on using Catalyst in a face-to-face situation, you would need to have them bring their laptops to the session. All right. I did that with an executive team a month or so ago. Actually, it's more than that now. It was just before Christmas. And so I split them into pairs rather than doing breakout rooms. We break in room and got them to sit with their laptops and pull up their comparison with each other and go through and do the exercise that they would have done virtually if they were in a breakout room. And it worked just fine. Okay. And so, yeah, so that's the new reality, and that's Catalyst. So let's go to questions. Do we have any? If you have any questions, oh, where are we? There's nothing in the Q&A. Do we have anything in chat? Nothing. Okay, no questions. Well, if you have a question, could you please type it either in the Q&A box or the chat box, and we'll take as many as we can. I've got plenty of time. Okay, we have one question's come up. Hi, Sharon. Oh, interesting question. Do you see this going to an app at some stage? I don't think there are plans for that at the moment. I think obviously someone can save their link to their Catalyst platform as a favorite on there, and it has been designed with responsive design programming, so they can see it clearly on a smartphone or a tablet as well as on the screen. Obviously, there's so much information there. If they've got their screens open, that's fine. But if you can also be, when you're doing a virtual presentation, you can have people watching your PowerPoint and get them to bring up their Catalyst platform on a phone so that they can keep them both going at the same time. Okay. Yes, we will be sending out a recording of this. And yes, you can share that with a colleague. And yeah, Lisa has asked, as someone who's doing DiSC accreditation at the moment, am I able to get the upgrade of my workplace profile to Catalyst? Absolutely. It just, Candy will take care of that. How do we move to Catalyst? Okay. You send out a link to people who, say you want to do it yourself, Anna. You've got a workplace profile and you want to upgrade to Catalyst. You go into Epic and you choose Workplace on Catalyst as the profile you want to generate. And you also choose, I want to use existing data. All right. That is, you want to use your DiSC assessment that you used for your workplace profile previously. Okay. And so it will then take all of your questions for the DiSC questionnaire into your Catalyst profile, and then you will be given all of the other additional questions to answer about the priorities for productive conflict management and the mindsets for Agile EQ. And then you will automatically then straight away have access to your Catalyst profile once you've done that. If you've got a group of people that you want to upgrade to Catalyst, the same thing. You would just set them up to take the Catalyst profile, use existing data, and it can be from any of their DiSC profiles like workplace management, etc. And then they'll do the additional questions and then they'll have their Catalyst profile. Very simple. Oh, we've got some more in chat. Okay. I missed the beginning, but was anything covered on the 363 profile? The answer is no. I didn't mention it. 363 for leaders is our everything DiSC 360-degree profile. It is not on Catalyst, and it's not planned to go on Catalyst anytime in the foreseeable future. They've got so much other stuff to do to get the basics up there first. And so you can, however, if someone has done a 363 profile, then they have done the basic DiSC questionnaire on themselves. You can use that as existing data to create a workplace on Catalyst profile instead of asking them to take all the questions again. Okay. Okay, the question here is, if you update your DiSC profile built on current information using existing data, and then later the team want to do productive conflict, do they need to do another questionnaire? No, if they've upgraded to Catalyst, they've answered the productive conflict questions as part of that initial upgrade to Catalyst, right? So there are 20 questions that are asked about how you actually behave in conflict, which is really around your conflict priorities. All right. When you take the Catalyst profile, productive conflict profile, rather, you would do the DiSC questionnaire and the 20 questions. When you do Catalyst and you upgrade, you answer all those questions at the initial upgrade. All right. And so when when the productive conflict profile becomes available on Catalyst, you can just link them to their productive conflict profile, and you will pay some credits to do that. Right now, currently the productive conflict profile through Epic costs 20 credits. Since they only charged us 10 credits for Agile EQ on Catalyst, compared to 25 before Catalyst, I'm expecting something around the same for conflict, but don't hold me to that. Obviously, they're not going to charge the full amount, because they've already said they're going to discount people, to get people to, or to encourage people to use the full range of profiles that are in Catalyst. Okay. Do we have an email template? Yes, we do, to introduce people to Catalyst Upgrade. Absolutely, Julie, we can get that to you. Candy's making notes. Okay, don't have any more questions at the moment. Okay, all right. Well, if you have any other questions that come up and you would like us to answer them, or if you'd like to have a chat about it, please let us know and we'll make a time to be in touch with you. And really would encourage you to investigate this. If you, one of the things, in order to investigate this properly, you really need more than one person to upgrade. All right, because if you upgrade yourself, put in your company name, and there's no one else in there with that company name, you won't see the your colleagues section, right? And so you won't really be able to test it out. So, but with two people, yes, you can do that, play around with it. And again, remind you that there's no cost to upgrade from an existing everything DiSC profile to Workplace on Catalyst, okay? And again, that's been extended to the 31st of December. All right, so thank you very much for joining us this morning. And we look forward to talking with you again soon.